If you want to know the direction of the jobs market, pay attention to the Black unemployment numbers. That's not my guidance. That's the guidance from economists and experts who know much more about this than I. But let me explain. Right now, the US unemployment rate is at 4.3%. We just learned that very few jobs were added in August, about 22,000. That's not good. If you were to describe this via text, you send a red alarm emoji. Now, for Black workers, the data is worse. For now, another month, the unemployment rate is going up. It's now 7.5%. That's the highest it's been since October of 2021. And it's a number we've been watching ever since it was 6.8% in June. It's two alarm emojis. You dig even deeper, and you'll find that Black women are disproportionately struggling right now. The jobless rate for Black women is at 6.7%. The last time it was that high, September of 2021, back during the pandemic. Add one more red alarm emoji. Why is this happening? Economists have told us that when we see the unemployment rate going up for Black people, it's a sign that it could soon go up for all people. And as our CNN business team explains, Black workers are disproportionately employed in frontline and lower wage industries, as well as the government workforce. So what comes for Black people first often comes for everyone. And you know, those good government jobs have been a tool for Black people to build stable livelihoods, especially for Black women. But the federal workforce has been a target of this administration, along with immigrants and diversity initiatives. We have a lot to talk about. So joining me this morning, LaTosha Brown, co-founder of Black Voters Matter Fund, Stephanie Donegan, a former Republican candidate for the Georgia Senate and founder of Your Rich Life Media and the Stillwell Society, and Delilah Paul is the national editor of the news site Capital B. Welcome to you all. Stephanie.
So before we get started, we're going to first state what the gentleman is saying. He's stating that the United States unemployment rate as of August of this year is at 4.3%. Also, he states that as of August, Black women are at an unemployment rate of, I believe it was 7.6%. Let's go back to see what that was. 7.5%. So 7.5% for Black and African Americans. And then it was 6.7% for Black women. All right, I'm gonna repeat that again. So it's 4.3% for across the, everyone across the United States. For Black and African Americans, it's 7.5%. And for Black women specifically, it is 6.7%. And the data shows that when it comes to unemployment hits African Americans and Black women first due to the type of jobs that Black people have, frontline workers, government workers, and things like that, blue collar workers, right? So due to those signs that unemployment is rising, which we did report as of last week, that these are going to hit everyone else shortly after, right? So the data shows that it hits the front line first, and then it trickles down. It's like a domino effect that then impacts others in the future. So they're going to start having this conversation about this, but this is very important because if you remember, and let's just talk government because I am a government employee. Let's just talk government for a second. Back in March of this year, when DOGE was cutting the federal workforce, and it's a whole bunch of federal agencies, federal cuts, programs, things like that. A lot of people were deciding to retire early because it was based on the retirement program that DOGE offered to the federal workforce. Now, so this is very important for you to understand. Although people took the federal ability to retire, the report of their unemployment would not begin until September, even though they took the retirement, the early retirement in March. So from March through August, the reporting was for all of the federal workers that chose to leave the government. The reporting for them from an unemployment standpoint is not going to start until this month, because they were getting paid up until September. So if I stopped working in March, I would be getting paid April, June, May, June, July, all the way up through September, and then I would then be unemployed. So unemployment is already moving up as of August. And if you take those things into consideration when it comes to the federal workers specifically, and we're talking federal only, what will be the unemployment rate in September? If it's 4.3 as of August, then more than likely it's going to continue to go up moving forward. Also, the report is only 22,000 new jobs were created. So you have an issue with people getting laid off. You have an issue with new jobs. It's not an influx of new jobs. So then you have people just being unemployed, which then impacts households, which then impacts homes, which then impacts the rental market, which then impacts everything. Right? Foreclosures, things, it's a domino. If you have a higher unemployment, you have less people being able to pay their bills. You have less people being able to pay their mortgage. You have less people being able to pay their rent, which then impacts banks, which then impacts landlords. And it's a continual domino down to everybody. Right. So as we get into this discussion, when it comes to this unemployment with African Americans and Black women specifically, understand that although they're talking strictly to Black women and African Americans in general, the trickle down effect is to everyone afterwards.
Let me start with you. 22,000 jobs.
Yes.
In August. June revised down now, the first month of job losses in 5 years. The president promised the golden era for America. Where is it?
I mean, ultimately, we have to just be honest and say it doesn't look good, which I know people don't expect me to say. But the reality is right now, because of all the cutbacks in the federal government, it is going to hit Black women disproportionately right now because of how much we are employed. That being said, I do believe that it is going to bounce back with the new businesses and new jobs that will be coming. But I think we need to give it time. I don't think we've given it enough time.
That's something we heard from the Commerce Secretary as well. Let's play with Howard Lutnick said.
We've seen that in all sorts of agencies throughout this government. The holdovers from the Biden administration they're just bent against the president's success. They're rooting against America and against Donald Trump, and that's got to end. So he can't replace somebody, 2 weeks ago, and you expect fundamental change.
Latasha, he says, give it time.
The challenge with this is that when you look at Black women, we, particularly in terms of women, we are, in terms of participation in the labor market, we're 60% more than all of our women counterparts of the labor market. But what's interesting in federal jobs, we're about 11.7%, which means that's in parity of our population, right? But when you look in the private sector, we're less than 1.8% when you look at higher management jobs. So what we have seen is that federal jobs have actually created a pathway, an opportunity that Black women, it demonstrates that when Black women are given an opportunity, that there are federal protections that allow us to matriculate, that what you see is that we're able to get representation. What he's saying around that we're supposed to just play on the market, but what we're seeing is an underrepresentation in the market, that oftentimes we're underpaid in the market, we're in entry-level jobs. You do not see the same kind of economic stability that we've seen with federal employment.
I saw your facial expression.
Because ultimately, a lot of the hiring, I feel, that's happened within the federal government was to check boxes for DEI, not necessarily because this was just perfect for them. And I only say that because of how many Black women have been employed. And I think that's part of the reason is we're seeing the layoffs that we're seeing and the unemployment, because that's how they got hired in the first place.
I think the interesting thing about that is that in terms of federal jobs, that is merit-based, that people actually are able to keep their jobs or even to literally ascend based on being merit-based. You don't see that in the private sector. So I think it's really to say that Black women working in these jobs is to check a box. It ignores the fact that is a merit base.
Well, to a degree, because I do know for federal government, depending on what your history is, if you have worked in the military, if you're Black, you do get extra points when it comes to hiring. And so being Black in general will push people up when it comes to hiring. Being a Black woman will push people up when it comes to hiring.
Yeah, can I pause? I think we have to think about the impact. I mean, the fact that you have hundreds, thousands of Black women who are out of jobs, women from the age of 40 something, 50 something, who are caregivers for their families. We've had reports. We have interviewed women who are struggling right now. So I hear what you're saying about the checking of the boxes, but like, I think we're losing sight of the human impact of this.
Actually, I agree with you on that. I actually feel that it's quite unfortunate that that has to happen, but we cannot continue to keep people in jobs to keep a payroll going.
Oh, yes. Can we stop for a second? All right. So first thing first, right? I'm gonna just be honest. I gotta do this. Life ain't fair, man. Life ain't fair. When you work in a free country, you are not entitled to a job, right? Meaning entitled from the standpoint that, like, because you have one, the company can't find a better employee, right? As someone that works and has worked for the government for a long time, right? I'm gonna just say that there are a lot of people that, that get over with their history and the things that they've done in the past, similar to what she was talking about when it came to being in the military, or, your qualifications, in the past. So there are a lot of dinosaurs in the government. There's a lot of dinosaurs in every industry, right? But my point here is we look at this free society, this capitalistic society, and at times we think we're entitled to a position, we're entitled to a job, meaning someone can't replace you. You are replaceable. You are replaceable. I am replaceable. When it comes to working for a job, it is my responsibility to make sure that I am excellent at what I do to ensure my position. But even in that situation, there's also a possibility that I will not be working at that company long term. Not just based on the fact that I am a good employee, just based on the fact that the company might be making changes. And we see this all the time when it comes to big tech, private companies, and how they make changes all the time. I believe I just seen a company that was laying off. Company was that? A company that was laying off 5,000 workers coming up later this year into early next year. 5,000 layoffs. There it is. So Salesforce, Salesforce reduction of 4,000 customer service jobs and replacing some with human functions and AI. So we got companies laying off thousands of people based on artificial intelligence. And this is a whole nother conversation that we got to have when it comes to how technology is going to replace you, how AI is going to replace you. If you're a customer service agent, if you are a basic, person that answers telephones and help people out, AI is taking your job if it already hasn't. So understand that you are replaceable, and the way that these tech giants and these companies is moving forward, then when it comes to coding as well as graphic design, when ChatGPT or AI can then make me a thumbnail or make me a design or make me a blueprint. So now I can take architectures and engineers and people that create these things, and I no longer need, if I got 10, I only need about 3 or 4 of you, because I got AI to then do what you was doing, and your job is already then taken care of. And I don't have to pay someone $100,000 salary because that person has been replaced by artificial intelligence. There is always a way for you to be replaced. So you have to plan ahead and always be looking for what is the next opportunity and putting yourself in a position to be successful long term, so that you won't be replaced, or you give yourself a lesser of a chance for someone to take your position, or for you to just be fired ultimately and then either replaced by a computer or some type of robotic, artificial intelligent technology that can really do the majority of your job by itself in a much more efficient and faster pace. So when we are having this conversation about federal workers, private sector, unemployment rising, it's important that we don't sit and have a victimized conversation about how things isn't fair, because that's it's irrelevant to the results driven thought process that we got to have here on Financial Blueprint. We always got to be thinking results first and not I am a victim, woe is me mentality, which really doesn't benefit you long term.
I think that's unfortunate.
But that's not, I mean, again, I have to disagree with you. I think a lot of the women who have been losing their jobs have played critical roles in government.
But if it was
and it's
really
beyond
critical,
DEI.
if it was
It's
really
beyond
critical,
DEI.
they would still have their job. It wasn't that critical.
No, they don't have
I
their
disagree.
jobs because now there's a policy in place that really has been racialized. It's not, it's, we're looking at a space that how were they able to ascend? It wasn't about the checking the box. It was hard work. It was, we know that in a culture as in America, when have Black women ever been given something just because we're checking a box? The women, we are the cornerstone of this economy all across it.
Well, I hear you, but I can also say that one of my first jobs was for the federal government, and I was very clear that I got pushed up ahead of people because I was Black and I could check the box.
Well, let me ask you this, because there's a gender economist, Katika Roy, who calculated between February and July that 319,000 Black women lost their jobs in the private and public sector. In that same period, job increases for white men was 365,000. There were 176,000 job gains for Hispanic women. There were 142,000 job gains for white women. And so when you suggest that these Black women were in jobs to check a box, reconcile that with the increases for these other demographics and communities.
Well,
those jobs were earned and they deserved better jobs and deserved to have more jobs, while the hundreds of thousands of Black women were just there to be pushed along and check a box.
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying, because
Okay.
ultimately I think we all can agree that DEI has not just helped Black women. So that's in the first place. DEI has helped minorities, women, white women. DEI has helped not just Black women, but when it comes to the conversation of federal workers, with us being such a large percentage of federal workers.
It's deeply insulting to say that. It's deeply insulting that when you're looking at federal workers, we make what, 11.7%? That's just in parity of our population. And so that there you have 80%, of more of people that represent different segments of society. So to suggest that Black women in some way, that our presence in the federal government has come from just somehow we are checking the box, really undermines the fact that we have been the cornerstone of the labor market in this country.
No, it doesn't. It just looks, that's the way you want to see it. It doesn't. Ultimately, Black women were not the only people who were laid off. It's just that the conversation we're having today is around the large percentage of Black women, and that is because of how many Black women are employed federally. But ultimately, when we talk about people who have still been employed, who have been hired of other ethnicities, of other races, I know for sure, I've seen the conversation on social media of people saying that they're not going back to work yet. I've seen the conversation of people saying that they're going to sit on unemployment. I've seen the conversation of people saying they're going to start businesses. And so ultimately, I don't even think the numbers are completely correct yet. And I don't know if we're going to know that for a few months.
Dalila, let me get you in here, and I'll bring this, that Black women bore the brunt of the job losses during the pandemic. They bore the brunt of the job losses of 𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐞. And so as we look at this continue in private sector as well, what's that mean on a community economic level, on a home economic level, with Black women disproportionately being head of household in many homes?
I mean, it's the ripple effect. It's the fact that people can't pay their mortgages. People can't afford to take care of their parents who are sick. They have kids in college. But I want to also mention how, just back to her point about the jobs, the Department of Education had a large amount of Black women who were laid off. Many of these women worked in the civil rights divisions. These offices investigated discrimination against Black students. There are these real consequential ripple effects that are happening professionally and personally. And we have to keep that in mind.
So do we not think that these jobs will come, as this coming to the state, the Department of Education coming to the states, are we not looking at it as though the jobs will open back up? Are we not looking at it as though it stopped on a federal level, but it will move to a state level? Are we just ignoring that fact?
No, what we're looking at is that households are being impacted. What
So
we're looking at is
are we going to continue paying people just because we feel bad for them when those show that these divisions?
No, this isn't about feeling bad for them. We're saying that there are credible workers who have actually contributed and continues to
but in
contribute to this
departments
country.
in which we've shown waste. So we can't keep
But how have we proven waste?
waste.
That's not been proven.
We've got to pause here. Latasha, Dalila, Stephanie, thank you all for staying with me. I will say here, where I started this conversation is where I want to put an exclamation point on the end. What has come for Black workers, and specifically Black women, economists say will be coming for everyone. So this will be a conversation over the next months and years that could expand.